Today's show is brought to you by Zipcar.com. Earn $25 of free driving credit at www.joinzipcar.com/AAA. Now, on with the show.
Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino. How be you?
Oh, it's a good day.
Yeah.
It's a good day.
It's a good day. Well, good. It's a good day. For me, it's a little overcast and damp day.
Yeah.
But
hey, today's show is going to be a Skype craziness. We are covering the whole country.
Pretty much.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, we're like the eclipse.
But faster. Hey, look at that.
But faster.
That's right. And guess what's fast? That's
listeners?
a horrible segue, but our listeners, you guys are doing it awesome. You're definitely bringing it, man. We can't thank you enough.
That's right, and we couldn't do it without you and your friends.
That's right. And as we always say, when you tell your friends, just because, well, we're a little narcissist and we'd like to hear it, tell them that you heard it here first.
Absolutely. And, we're going to bring you somebody today that you've probably heard about first here.
Yeah.
And who knows, for a couple, three people out there, maybe a genre of music you've not been exposed to yet.
Very true.
Not everybody's cup of tea, but, give it a listen. It'll certainly smack you upside the head.
Oh, yeah.
And, some people like that. A lot of people like that because it's a very popular genre of music.
Yeah.
So, maybe you've heard it before, maybe you haven't. What would you categorize it as, Nick?
I don't know, man. Not that. I don't know.
It's not like death metal.
No, it's very progressive.
It is.
Let's say that. It's a new type of progressive metal.
Okay,
right?
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. So we're going to take a pause for the cause and come back with our guest of the week, guitarist. Okay, you're going to have to edit this. But what was his project name again?
Berried
Alive.
Berried Alive.
No.
Bird.
Right. Okay, so we're going to go. Right, so we're going to take a pause for the cause, and we're going to be back with our guest of the week, guitarist, and actually only musician in the project Berried Alive, Mr. Charles Caswell.
This is Evan Tauscher, and you're listening to Amps and Axes.
Zipcar, baby. Drive cars by the hour or day with gas and insurance included. Zipcar is the world's largest car-sharing network, providing wheels when you want them. Customers pay only for the time they actually use the vehicle and have no responsibility for additional costs and hassles associated with car ownership. Zipcars are interspersed throughout local neighborhoods where they are parked in reserved parking spaces and garages within an easy walk where members live and work. Like car owners, customers can choose when and where they want to drive. So, to earn $25 of free driving credit, go to joinzipcar.com/AAA. Again, that's joinzipcar.com/AAA to earn free driving credit. Come on, man. It's Zipcar.
All right, welcome back, listeners. We're back with our guest of the week because we bring you a guest every week. And this week, there's no exception. So we're going to bring you live from the Portland, Oregon area, Mr. Charles Caswell. Charles, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
So Jeff, I always start off with some kind of crazy story, right?
You got some kind of story, I know.
I surf the internet like I'm riding a wave in Hawaii, and I do a lot of Instagram stuff. So I don't know if it could have been Musicians Institute. It could have been one of those. I think they actually spotlighted Charles, and I'm going through the posts, and I see this, and I'm going, this is some of the craziest stuff I've ever heard. And what I mean by that is, your playing it's spot on. I mean, it is so precise. I don't know how these young guys are doing it, Jeff. I don't know if it's maybe because, there's a Monster Energy drink everywhere or what, because the speed and the accuracy is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
because it's not just, I'm going to do this box pattern, I'm going to do this run or this sweep pick. No, I'm going to travel 10 frets, all kinds of crazy string skipping, two-handed stuff, sometimes not, and here's Charles just doing this passage of something, and I'm like, what in the world? I mean, so I was like, immediately I'm on the internet just trying to find him, and here we are, but just crazy stuff, and I'm going to let you take it over, Jeff, but I can't wait till we get to the most recent stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mick.
No problem, man.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. So I'm going to do what we do with all of our guests, Charles, and we're going to jump in the Wayback Machine and find out where Mr. Charles Caswell came from, where you were born and raised, and what got you into this wonderful world of music, and then into the particular genre that you're in. Like, what kind of influences put you there? So let's get some history.
Okay. I'm from Maple Lake, Minnesota, which basically it's a town nobody's heard of. It's about 60, 70 miles west of the Twin Cities area.
Okay.
So I grew up, I started playing when I was probably 11 years old on this broken acoustic my dad had, just sitting in the corner behind his chair. I was too little as a kid to get around the chair to get to the guitar, but as I grew up, I got stronger and was able to finally get my way to it without him looking, and I started just messing around on it. He made me a guitar pick out of a Hot Wheels track, so this little triangular pick.
Wow.
So I finally had a pick, and I felt pretty cool at the time, and was just strumming chords, didn't even know how to tune it, and eventually I'd make up songs, and then my mom had me take lessons in this city kind of close to Maple Lake, and I rented a guitar from there for a while. And I had a paper route at the time, and I was super into Jimi Hendrix because he was just making the craziest sounds I'd ever heard as a kid. So I had a guitar, like a Strat kind of looking guitar that I rented, and then I spent pretty much every penny I made on the paper route on a guitar, which I probably shouldn't have done, but
why not?
Because well, I don't know. It was like an $1,100 guitar, and I was about 13 years old.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I don't know. I didn't take the best care of it, but I was pretty dedicated to knowing that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, sounds like.
Then, just like you said, Monster. I drink a ton of Monster. I just, I play a lot.
I was just guessing.
I got into metal. Have you heard of After the Burial?
After the Burial?
I've heard the name before. I'm not familiar with their material.
Yeah, I was going to say I've heard this.
But let me back up for a second here too. You said your first guitar was like this half broken guitar behind your dad's chair. Did your dad play?
He pretended to play. He was kind of like one of those guys that could just kind of monkey around with just about anything and make it sound halfway decent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I always thought he could play, and then once I started learning how to play, I realized he couldn't. But he had that. He had a harmonica, so I think he just had musical instruments just kind of around the house. He probably even found it out of a garbage can. I really don't even know.
That's cool.
Wow.
So nobody else in the family musical?
No. Nope.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Mostly hockey. I've got a cousin that used to play for the Bruins.
Oh, nice.
Really?
And another cousin that played pro hockey. I forgot which team he was on, but Yeah, so mostly hockey, mostly sports.
Very cool.
Well, there you go. Cool. Well, that's that thing, who was it? It was Doug Marks, Metal Method guy.
Mm-hmm.
He always talked about how guys that live like in the warm states, like LA and stuff like that, they don't practice as much as they should. Now that isn't necessarily true in today's standards, but back in the day, it was kind of statistically correct because guys, that's why Rush was always so good because it was always cold. So
right,
where are you when it's cold?
Shedding.
You're inside. Right. So right. Minnesota, you're either playing hockey or you're obviously playing guitar.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because if it's a warm climate, you're outside. You're I don't know. You're surfing. You're skateboarding. You're whatever.
Oh yeah, man.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of rare to be a professional skateboarder from Minnesota, because by the time winter hits, you're going to get really bad at everything you just learned throughout the summer because it's going to be snowing for the next 8 months.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah, so every year you're completely out of practice. It's like it's futile. It's like, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Snowboarder instead, right?
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Wow,
that's fun. I like to snowboard, but I have to drink when I snowboard because I'll be too scared to go down the hills if I don't. So.
Well, then you could become a statistic if you're not too careful.
That's true.
I don't know about that. I don't know about it. It keeps you loose, man. It's like, it's like, drunks that get into car accidents or something. Not that I'm saying this is a good thing, but they bounce more than they get hurt.
Exactly.
It keeps you limber.
There is a problem though when the tree is the only thing you got to bounce off of.
There's that.
It makes you feel warm, and it makes you feel like you know how to snowboard.
There you go.
It makes you feel like you know how to do a lot of things.
Yep.
All right. So where did we leave off? I'm sorry.
The acoustic guitar that his dad could not play, but pretended like he could.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
So that first electric, what was it?
It was a Fernandez Revolver Elite. So it had like a. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what year were we talking here?
Oh, man, I think like 99 or 98.
And when those Fernandez first came out, they were a great company. They were making pretty high dollar, high quality, guitars.
Yeah, and honestly, weren't they responsible for the Sustainer?
Still are.
Yep.
Yeah,
man.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they have a couple versions of that Sustainer. And let me tell you, the good people over at Fractal and Kemper have kept them in business.
Oh, really?
Well, when you're live and you're only using a Fractal and you don't have any sound on stage and you need feedback, talk to our buddy Joel Hoekstra, because that's how he creates it on his guitars.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. That would be really good for feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not moving any air.
Yeah, it's very hard to get
interaction.
Yeah, very hard to get that interaction. I heard they're a little bit of a bear to work with. You have to understand how they work because it can go. Some guys can finesse those things to kind of get them to creep into the feedback simulation that I guess it's creating. With the string vibration. And there's two versions. There's like the Sustainiac, and then there's some other the Feedbacker, I guess, or something. I've heard about two versions of this, and one of them takes off very quickly, and you kind of have to work at it. It's a little bit of a perfection you have to create. But once you get it, then you're Steve Vai, because he uses his all the time.
Yeah, Charles, did your Fernandez have the Sustainer?
Yep. It was neck through. Wow. It was like this metallic red color. It had the original Floyd Rose tremolo, which I didn't know how to maintenance or maintain at the time, and it had the Sustainer unit on it. So it was kind of a big boy toy for sure. I was in over my head.
Don't worry about the Floyd Rose piece, because nobody to this day knows how to tune them, how to set up the intonation.
Wow.
There's actually a picture where this guy is standing. It's a scientist, and he's standing in front of this chalkboard. It's like 10 feet high and like 20 feet long with all of these formulas on it. And it says, and that's how you tune a Floyd Rose.
That is how.
Hilarious.
It's just crazy. A lot of people steer away from them, but I'm kind of glad I started early because it's like the only thing that I really am comfortable playing now is with a floating trem. Just because there's so many more things you can do with it, I guess, guitar-wise.
Sure.
But it is totally a pain in the ass in other aspects.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you know,
Can I say ass?
Yeah, you can say anything you want.
Matter?
Yeah, no.
Okay, cool.
No. It you know, I mean, the Floyds did have the lock on both sides. You know, they had the locking nut, and then, you know, of course, it locked on the bridge side.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, that was the first of the double locking thing. You know, for me, you know, Mick turned me onto these, and now I kind of like them. You know, the locking tuners. I was always a vintage kind of guy, but the locking tuners makes using a floating whammy for me a lot better. You know, if everything is lubed up nicely and set up nicely, it's pretty okay. You know, you can't dive like a Floyd, but it's pretty okay nowadays.
Yeah, Floyd's take you to that next level that's kind of really crazy, right? You know, strings are hanging off. I mean, not even audible sound, you know, but they do stay in tune. That is the one thing about them.
Especially with the 7-string. It's just making subsonic noises at that point.
Yep. They even make an 8-string Floyd now, too. I haven't personally tried it because I just don't have that kind of patience, but they're out there.
Wow.
I don't have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah, I would hate to. It would take like a week to restring it.
Not good for gigs.
So Charles, what kind of material were you playing when you got your Fernandez? I mean, what kind of stuff were you into at that point?
I was doing a lot of Hendrix covers. I was learning Little Wing, Voodoo Child, Green Day, you know, learning the power chords with Green Day music, and eventually Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne. I got super into Randy Rhoads, too, when I was around 13, 14.
Oh, nice.
And I kind of got obsessed with him and then got into Ozzy Osbourne, or Zakk Wylde, Jake E. Lee. And then I found Pantera when I was like 16 and was like a diehard Dimebag Darrell fan ever since then.
Wow. Well, that's a good arsenal of guys to learn from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
did you mention, or did we ask? Were there like lessons involved at any point? Were you actually trained in some way?
Yeah, I took lessons for a summer. He taught me like octaves and the major scale, the pentatonic scale, and stuff like that. And then after that, his mom passed away, and then he moved to California. And then the music store actually closed down. So being out in kind of the middle of nowhere, it's a long commute to get to anything good as far as like stores go and music lessons. So a lot of it kind of stopped after that for a while. And then it picked up again. I wanted to learn some nylon classical guitar. So I took about 2 months of lessons for that too.
Nice. Yeah, I guess, being out in the middle of wherever, if the only music store and teacher thereof closes down, it's like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah. The internet becomes your friend.
Pretty limited.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had internet. I didn't have internet until I was about 20. No, probably 20.
Oh, because you were that far off the beaten path, you didn't have like cable?
Well, it was probably early, right?
Yeah, my mom didn't even have an answering machine, I'm pretty sure. Like, my parents are older. My dad was like 50 when he had me. Whoa. So I think since they were a little older, they didn't really want to do a lot of like the interneting and stuff like that. If that makes sense.
Sure.
That newfangled technology,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I had Guitar World magazine monthly. So that I've read that thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Riffer Madness.
Through a lot of those.
Right? The Dimebag Darrell Riffer Madness. That was in Guitar World.
Oh, yeah. I think I have that one somewhere.
Yeah,
That's where they go through, like, Cowboys from Hell.
Oh, yeah.
Domination, like, all the good, awesome songs.
Yeah, I remember when he did that, and he was like, I forget what it was. He was offering people beer if they would just show their progression, and he never got rid of the beer.
So nobody followed through and say, hey, look what I can do now?
No, and you know, if you go out on the internet, there's a ton of guys on YouTube, man, doing Dimebag stuff, you know, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was a unique, even though he was heavy, I mean, they started off as a glam band. You know, they did Van Halen, basically. That was his hero, was Eddie Van Halen. And Ace Frehley. Two totally different sides of the spectrum there.
Sure.
But, you know, he had a very unique way of doing solos, his approach and all. And they weren't just blazing. They were actually very well thought out, you know, and, you know, a lot of different things. And, you know, now guys are, you know, you got guys that just go ballistic. You know, to the point where
we've got one on the show right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking like Rusty Cooley, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Rusty does stuff, and I'm like, you know, my hand would fall off.
No, for sure. For sure. Charles, when you were playing all the Hendrix stuff and things with your Fernandez, what was your, you know, I would say amp of choice, but for all of us, when early on, it's not really amp of choice. It's only damn amp that you can get. So what was your amp like back then?
Oh my, it's funny. I'm actually sitting right by it. It's a Marshall G30R CD, I believe it's called.
The heck is
I'm gonna have to look it up.
I don't know. It's a little 30-watt Marshall combo amp. It's got a clean and a distorted channel. But I bought it like the same day my guitar showed up because it was kind of on back order for a while. So it was about $125.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now.
Oh yeah, you pulled it up.
Sitting right by it.
Yeah, and on Reverb you can get it for $99. Look at that.
Well, there you go.
Used.
There you go.
Little
See, there's one on
112
Reverb.
combo. Yeah.
There's one on Reverb now if you need a spare.
Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. I don't know when this thing's going to go, man. I've had it for years and years.
Do you still use it?
Oh yeah, I use it every day.
Wow.
It's got a headphone out. It's got CD input. It's got a line out, Jeff.
Wow.
This thing's pretty cool.
CD inputs, you can play along with it. You know, that's before they, you know, the amps came with Bluetooth. So you could Bluetooth your music into them now.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, wow.
Good
next they'll just play for
cool.
you. They'll just play for you next, and you just set the guitar next to it, look at it, and it plays for you. You know, so.
Yeah, there you go.
You can just sit on Twitter while your guitar plays a song.
Like a player piano with a guitar. Wow.
Yeah. That's the way we're going, I guess.
Yeah. So where did the music take you from there? You were into playing the Hendrix stuff, and what really got you into the degree of heavy that you're into now?
Well, I started writing a lot of really heavy music and going to shows. And going back to that band I told you about after the burial, they're from the Twin Cities where I was kind of born, or like next to the small town that I was from. And my friend told me about them, and they were just this little local band. And I went and saw them, and they were like these kids, and it's like playing this ridiculously heavy music on 7 and 8 string guitars. And I was like, holy crap, I had no idea there was even music like this, because Pantera was pretty much the heaviest thing I had heard at the time. So, you know, this band that basically sounds like Meshuggah, playing at the small little cafe in the city in front of like 30 people, I was like blown away. So I started following those guys a lot and looking up to them, and I watched them grow and eventually get signed to Sumerian Records, which you may have heard of. It's a decent label. And they kind of blew up from there. So I was like, wow, I really want to do that. And I've just been kind of pursuing that ever since I found out about those guys.
Wow. And they were just young guys at that point, right? When you first found them.
Yeah, I think they were just getting out of high school. they were like literally kids. They had a demo out that would get sold out, or they would pass around. And I watched them go from like 30 people at this little cafe to selling out 2 nights in a row at a venue in the Twin Cities. So pretty inspirational for me to watch kind of evolve.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Now they're on Warped Tour.
Wow. Now you
cool.
said they were playing 7 and 8 strings. I mean, that's, to me, that's pretty amazing for, somebody that young to not only, pick up a 6-string guitar and be really, really proficient at it, but, go down into the 7 and the 8-string thing and still have command of the instrument and be good enough to progress to the point where they got signed and had huge followings and selling out. I think that's really cool. Do you remember what maybe their rigs were like, what they were playing through for that, amount of heavy? I'm almost guessing it. Mick, what do you think? Maybe Solid State at that point, just, because it's got to be so powerful and tight and deep.
That or, boogies or, whatever they could afford, I guess.
Yeah, maybe Rectos.
The Randalls.
Do you remember what they were, Charles?
Yeah, I believe they were PV amps, like a 5150 or a 6505. But
okay.
So and then the one guy stage right had a Universe, the Ibanez Gem Universe 7-string. They were always playing Ibanez guitars. But they sounded, it was, to be honest, it was pretty muddy live, but it just, the energy and how heavy everything sounded together was just the rawness of it was just crushing. And eventually they went to the Axe-Fx and got a much cleaner tone from that.
Yeah, you would direct, not have to rely on because I guess the microphones just don't do it right, with some of the 8-string stuff.
Well, the also, the solid state technology, better or worse, can be a lot quicker, in
especially
response.
In a digital process too,
Right.
When you really think about it, it's so surprising. I seen guys years ago when I was out playing out. We had this band open up for us. Couldn't tell you their name now, but I remember the guitar player had a 5150 head, and I was like, that is the heaviest thing I've ever heard. I was really surprised and a lot of guys will use that head, Jeff, and you can get that thing to thump pretty good. You can't use the Sheffield cabinet, the Sheffield speakers that come with the 5150. But if you take it and hook it up to the 75 Celestions or whatever the flavor is, that thing will get crazy. And they prefer the older versions. More so than the newer versions. So I don't know what the secret mojo was. We'd have to ask James.
James Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was something in those that a lot of metal guys, real heavy guys, they really like those amps. And then the 6550, it was just basically it because Eddie.
6505, I think.
The 6505, yeah, because I think Eddie threatened to sue or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, there's that. Charles, do you do a lot of live playing nowadays? And if so, what's your rig of choice for that?
I haven't performed live in a few years, but when I did, I used a Line 6 Pod HT500X. It's basically like the poor man's Axe-Fx in a lot of ways. It's only $500 new. You can even get it for like $250 used. But I record with it. Everything you've heard on Instagram videos has been that little pedal board.
You're kidding.
So it's really nice and simplified. So I like to, you just plug it in and plug in an XLR cable into the PA system, and then you're good to go. So it's really nice and handy. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
Now, I think I do remember seeing you. You actually have settings or programs out there for the Line 6, the HD 500X, right?
Yep. I design presets for people or for myself, and then I call them tone packs, and I put them on the internet and people can buy them.
Cool.
Now, so when you see these Instagram videos, it is post editing, right? That you do some of this, because the sound changes crazy fast. I mean, like you're doing this one thing on, in the lower register, and then all of a sudden it has this entire EQ and tonal change that is like instant, and then back to the other piece. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen, because when you hear it, and you've seen some of this, haven't you, Jeff?
I have, and like
it's mind-boggling.
The processing in the in the first, second, third strings, like the processing of that upper register stuff is actually tones I don't know that I've heard come out of a guitar before.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking crazy.
So, what's the
Thank
secret
you.
sauce?
I actually make I do a lot of experimentation with the pod. Like I use a whammy. Have you heard of the Digitech whammy pedal?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
It's got a simulated version of that inside the actual pod. So what I do is I turn it up to the second octave, and you can automate it so you can literally hit a button on the pod and it turns it on, and you can hit a button and it turns it back off. And so I can basically have everything in there ready to go. So I can literally make pretty much any sound I want with like the flip of a switch. It'll turn all my presets around. And if I really want to be lazy, I can take a MIDI cable from my interface and plug it into the pod, and I can automate it to send a signal to my pod to automatically make the switches at the proper time. So like when you hear like the pitch go way up, yeah. I can literally have the interface control that, so I don't even have to do a whole lot of tap dancing on the pedal board.
So you do it when you obviously set up a click, and it's by the measure or wherever you are.
Absolutely. Yep. So it's all set up into a grid based on the tempo. And then when it's done, you can just literally bounce that whole mix down, and then you have like your performance in with the actual song session, so it blends in nicely.
God almighty.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, so this is the crazy part. Here I'm thinking, and I don't know about you, Jeff, but I was thinking it was a Kemper or a Fractal. It was something, and he's just using the old Line 6. They should put you on, the top of the mountain. They should have him on the flag of the logo for Line 6, because it was like as soon as Fractal came out, I don't even know how they're still in business. I mean, they came out with the Helix.
Line 6?
Yeah, they came out with the Helix. It's getting really good reviews, but I imagine, I guess because of the price point, guys that can't afford the Fractal and the Kemper and there's other companies that are out there. But man, that doesn't sound bad. I thought that, I've heard so many people kind of push the Line 6 stuff as like it's not worthy of being in a recording type material or anything. Man, that doesn't sound bad at all. I thought for sure you were using something like one of those higher end effects units.
Yeah. I think Charles has taken the time to go deep into the software.
It sounds like it.
I definitely have. It's much easier than coming up with $2,500. I just kind of deal with what I got.
It's a lot of lawns to mow, or papers to send. That is.
Yeah, I don't do the paper up thing much more.
Well, good on you there.
Now you said you hadn't played live for a while. I'm assuming when you were playing live, it was that with the band Reflections?
Yes.
Yeah, because I listened to a little bit of that too, and again, just like super heavy, just crazy. I mean, I am not personally a fan of that genre. It's it's not really on my radar much. It's not in the iPod or whatever. But just to hear it performed, it's like, man, this is the energy behind it is. I mean, there's a lot of it. there's a lot of energy behind it. Whether you like the genre or not, you have to give props to the amount of power behind the performance.
Oh,
so
yeah. And my thing is when I watch some of these guys, because I like the heavy stuff, but I'm still I'm like one of the old school guys. I like Pantera, where Pantera, it was very tight, but it was also kind of loose, right? It was not, it was more in this kind of normal realm of what was going on at that time. Let's just put it that way, like a Metallica or Anthrax or any of the guys, any of the bands that were out at that time. Pantera kind of fell into that, a little bit more unique, but fell into that thing. The bands today, especially with some of the 8-string stuff, some of the guys are using, the sticks, and, it gets crazy, but the precision, you got 5 guys, 4 guys, whatever it is, and the precision and the timing and just the note execution, from the drummer to the bass player to the 2 guitar players usually that are happening. I'm like, how do you rehearse this stuff? I mean, it's like, it's so much. And, Jeff, it's this new version of really prog metal. These guys are so technically bound, and they have odd signatures and just these crazy riffs. And then, sometimes when the singer comes in, you go, well, that sounds like Cookie Monster, but,
right.
But
the part that's my least favorite part.
But the music is like, it's almost
honestly,
generator.
the drummer's feet a lot of times
it's just
impress the hell out of me. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah. And then you got guitar players and a bass player, and it could be multiples, right? So it's not just a guitar player and a bass player.
Right.
It could be 2 guitars and a bass player playing 8 strings, and they are literally to the nanosecond within each other. There's no gaps, and you're like going, how in the world are they doing this?
Now, Charles, are you? I'm sorry, Mick.
No, that's okay. I'm just blown away by the precision myself.
Now, Charles, are you playing 7-string now, or have you gone to 8-string, or what's your guitar? And what type of instrument are you playing now?
I played Legator guitars. They're from Los Angeles. They're a relatively newer company. They're about, I think they just turned 5 years old.
What's the name again?
But I started Legator.
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 Cool.
They make really sick guitars, so I've been endorsed with them for a couple of years, and I just recently got my first 8-string guitar about 2 or 3 months ago. So the album after this new one that comes out on September 1st, the one after this one is going to be all 8-string guitar and all 6-string guitar. So I'm actually taking the 7 out of the equation just to try to keep myself uncomfortable and keep myself growing as a guitar player.
That's pretty cool. And the I guess you can get a little more, and I don't know if you're going after this intentionally or whatever, but I guess you can get a little more separation between a 6-string and an 8-string guitar if you're looking for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. I'm just so used to riffing on 7 that as soon as I pick up an 8, I'm still riffing like I'm playing a 7. So I have to just take it and put it down for a while so I can learn how to use an 8-string the way I should be.
Now, does this have fan frets? Because I noticed they do it all, Jeff. They've got everything on this site.
Ligator?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you're on their site, check out the it's a Ninja is the model, and it's the NOD 8-string. So it's kind of like a natural wood finish.
Okay.
It's got the fan fret. It's got a solid brass nut on the neck, and it's got stainless steel frets. So it's a really, really sick guitar.
Yeah, I'm looking at these things, and they're very inexpensive. Are they made in Korea?
I think some are made in Korea and some are made in the USA.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Very, they're very good price point here. I mean, did you say the R200 SE? Is that what the one? What was the one that you were talking about?
The one I'm talking about is a Ninja NOD.
Oh, NOD. I'm sorry. I don't think that's
all right.
Is that on the site? Okay. Well, regardless, these things are crazy, Jeff. I mean, they are every bit a competitor with like Carvin, Kiesel.
Kiesel.
Yeah, with the fan frets and God Almighty. And the price points, they okay, so I see they must have a Korean line and they obviously have an American line because the American line, they go around, $1,400, $1,700. So it's
that is not bad for a custom made American guitar at all.
No.
Not at all.
But the ones that are well, there's a 9-string. Well, look at that, we're already behind. A 9-string guitar.
Don't worry, I'm behind too. There's just no keeping up.
That's crazy.
I'm amazed because you can get into one of their lower models for like $700, and then you can really get into some of these crazy ones. The 9-string thing is mind-boggling to me.
Man, that's like a piccolo bass or a baritone guitar with a few extra high strings.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff here. But I guess if there's guys out there doing it, the sky's the limit, man.
If you want to see a 9-string guitar in action, check out Mike Gianelli. If you're going through Instagram, I think his Instagram name is called 9-String Man. And it's all 9-string stuff. He's really good.
Now, what is that? Do you know what obviously it's lower, right? It's not a higher string. It's a lower string. Do you know?
I know it's lower, but I have no idea.
It's got to be like a 60 or something. It's a foreign object
to me.
A 70.
Oh, it's got to be bigger than a 60, man. It's got to be bigger than what's the low string, the typical low string on an 8-string, Charles?
The biggest string I could get in that 8-string without it not fitting is a 74.
Oh my God!
Wow, without it not fitting. Holy so I mean, you're looking for this thing to be like as taut and quick as it can be, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Wow.
And that's why they do fan frets, because you then can get an even feel across the whole guitar, right? So it's smaller on the high strings and it's longer on the lower strings, so you kind of get that even tension all the way across. So that's why they're doing that.
Yeah.
It's not really any kind of other reason than to just basically make the strings all kind of feel the same. So it feels like a real guitar, Jeff. Those 6-string ones we used back in the day.
That old style 6-string guitar. Yeah.
I don't know if fan fret is just like a trend right now because other companies started it. But when I picked up this 8-string was my first ever fan fret.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't even know. Like you can't even tell. There's not even really a getting used to it. You're kind of just used to it. It's really weird.
Really?
Yeah, they say it's not that drastic that you have to really learn how to, do anything different. It's, I guess the fanning, what is it? I think if I saw like on Kiesel's stuff on a 7-string, it's a 27-inch scale on the low side and a 25-inch scale on the high side or something like that. So it's not drastic. It's not these.
That's enough though to send you into the land of uncomfortable if you've been playing a regular fretted guitar for a while. I would think, but man, Charles, you say no, then I guess it's no. That's pretty cool. Wow.
I don't know. I didn't notice anything. It wasn't weird, but I don't know that the stainless steel frets and the brass nut like really makes the tone just so loud and aggressive sounding.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sick. I'm excited to start writing with it.
Cool. Now speaking of writing and recording, your current project, it's a one-man band thing, right?
Yep.
So you obviously know how to play drums a little bit too.
Yeah, I had one of my best friends growing up. He had this drum set, and he would bring it over, and we would jam like Green Day songs and whatever we could. And when he would leave, I don't know if he'd seen Step Brothers, but I would kind of work my way down to his drum set and kind of make sure nobody was looking, and I would beat the piss out of it.
That's pretty funny.
Screaming into the drum head, "Fuck you, Dale!
Nice.
Fuck you!"
Yeah. Yep, exactly. I never broke a cymbal or anything, but I definitely taught myself. Yes. Oh yeah. There were sticks broken, and I just had to confess, at least, or eventually. But he bought a new kit, and I bought his old kit, so I had his kit for a while until I bashed it to bits.
Now, what is your process for recording it?
Oh my God.
Actually, I just program drums.
Oh, really?
So now I'm even more frustrated as a guitar player, Jeff, because I knew he was going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you write like that? What software?
Superior Drummer.
Oh my God! I see, Jeff.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just I'm telling you. How old are you, Charles? May I ask?
I'm 28.
So he's 28 years old, Jeff. Okay. Oh. I've got him beat almost double his age, and Jeff, you're just a little bit older than me. It's mind-boggling. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was it because of his long cold winters in Minnesota or what, but it's like this whole generation now. They program the drums, and these are the most complicated drum patterns you've ever heard.
Honestly, man, I would have to say, coming from my experience in the business and my upbringing and where we came up, technology wise and all that, Mick.
Yeah.
I swear it's got to be harder to learn how to program this stuff than to learn how to play the damn drums.
For us, yeah.
Yeah, for us.
but you hear what he's doing, and it's like,
I know.
These are insane drum beats. Now, I know that Superior Drummer, like Easy Drummer, written by the same company, Tune Tracks, they have patterns in there. But are you manipulating those patterns? Or are you just using those patterns? How are you doing it?
No, I start totally fresh.
Jesus.
And I write the drums from scratch.
What the hell?
But I've been doing drum programming for a while. Like
obviously.
I bought Superior Drummer when I was like 20. So I've been messing with drum programming for a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, did you get the new version that just came out, by the way?
Oh, I really want to, but I feel like I should upgrade my computer just because there's so many samples in there.
Yeah.
I definitely plan on getting it, but I don't want to get it and then crash my computer.
That would be bad.
That'd be pretty sad.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah.
Wow. It's mind-boggling, man. I mean, it really is to me. Is. And I know I sound like the old guy, but there's like this changing of the guard, man. and
sure.
I'm telling you, it's coming down the road.
I mean, I imagine that it for us, it's like being Scotty Moore and seeing Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this overdriven stuff and fuzz and wahs and yeah. It's got to be. It's got to be. Yeah.
And according to. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the thing about it is, Jeff, is that when Hendrix came along, if you threw him behind a trap set, he would probably been pretty limited to what he could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the guy just comes along and he goes, well, here's my band, and by the way, I did every piece.
Right. Charles, you were going to say according to?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think most people in America disliked Hendrix until he went overseas and got famous in Europe. Because I think it was so over everybody's head what he was doing, and then people just loved it over there, and then he got popular and came back, and people liked him here again, according to the book. But Yeah, but
sure.
Shit, I can't imagine like going back in time and then seeing something like that.
No,
him playing with his teeth and setting guitars on fire and making sounds nobody's ever heard before.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, and that's when I listened to one of your videos, that, like I said, the higher registers, I really haven't heard a sound come out of a guitar like that. That's it's really cool and pretty unique.
It is very unique, and I guess it's one of these things that it's like, with all the record companies kind of gone, and it being difficult to find players at these. It's hard to get, I guess, 5 guys that have this same level, I mean, look, a little bit of the curtain pulled back. I was in contact with Rusty Cooley because my son knows a guy that's 22 years old that plays with one of these bands. They're all 8-string. He's an amazing drummer. This kid, Christian, can play literally anything at those crazy hyper speeds that we kind of look and go, how are your feet moving that fast? And
right.
And he plays an hour and a half solid without missing anything. And because Rusty's having trouble finding drummers that can do that gig, and it's like, I can imagine.
Yeah, well, you said Rusty actually was looking at the kid to be his drummer.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, he couldn't hire him full time, and that's why it did not happen.
Right.
Because it was like, hey, you got to relocate out to Texas, and you got to have a job because we don't tour that much. We do, and when we do, it's very short lived, and we got to come back, and that's the real working world now. Especially for a band like Rusty's. They are crazy heavy, and it's being independent like that. I guess they either have to get on a big bill with like a Ozfest or something like that, or they got to do 2 weeks at a time and really have that day job so they can support themselves.
Well, I mean, that just shows they're really committed to their art.
Oh yeah.
To have to work and then go out and play, to get it out there to the people, and not for that to be your main source of income. Because it does take a lot to do short things like that when you actually have to do things like work as well. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of perseverance and a lot of commitment. So, but Charles just decides to do it all himself.
Boy, does he do it well.
Put out a release. Now you have something out now, and how is that available? And you said you have something coming out soon.
Yep. So I have an album that came out last October called Soul Sucker, and that's available on iTunes. It's on Spotify, Bandcamp, Amazon, Google Play, pretty much, I think, most of the stores. And I have a new album coming out on September 1st called Fool's Gold that's available for pre-order on iTunes and Bandcamp, and it should be on Spotify and in all the stores once it's finally out.
And the name of the project is, because it's not under your name, right? There's a project name that it's under, right?
Yeah, it's under Berried Alive.
Berried Alive.
With an E. Spelled with an E, not a U.
With an E. Yep, spelled incorrectly. Intentionally.
Yeah, phonetically, right? Would that be phonetically, Jeff, right?
That would be phonetically, yes.
Berried.
Right.
My buddy Barry.
As opposed to buried.
Buried, yes.
Yep.
Right.
So
Buried.
we will have all those links on the show, and that will live in
perpetuity.
That's right. And you can go check out all of his stuff and definitely follow him on all the social stuff. This is one of those things. This is like Jason Sudeikis without the other musicians. Like he is doing it all, and this is kind of a new thing that we're probably going to see more and more as time goes on, just due to the fact that the tools are there. And if you have these capabilities, you can make these recordings that, man, they sound good. They're not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tools are there, and a lot of times the availability of the appropriate players is not.
Yeah, or the money. to get the appropriate players.
Exactly. So one way or another.
Yeah, because Marco Miniman, Jason would love to get with him personally and probably do their whole thing, but you know how that is. Mm-hmm. He's out with that other alien called Guthrie Govan.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah, he's a monster for sure.
You all are.
Yeah. You're all crazy.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. It really does. It's so much. I got to stop thinking about it because I'll go insane.
Yeah.
There
are too many times where we'll talk to a guest and get familiar with their music and then just go, I'm going to put the guitar back in the case and really done. There's no point in playing anymore because I'll just be boring people at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I thought Eddie Van Halen would be it.
Right.
Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah. He just ushered in a new generation of aliens. That's all.
Exactly.
Well, Charles, thank you so very much for taking the time, man. Much continued success. And, I'm sure our audience will be looking forward to the new project that comes out. Is that the one that's going to be 6-string and 8-string and no 7-string? Or is that the next one?
That's the next one. So this one is 6 and 7-string guitar. I've got about 20 songs in the works for the following album. And I'm just kind of working with 6 and 8-string for that.
Damn,
but that should be out hopefully within a year. I'm kind of shooting for the end of the year for that album. We'll see how much I can get done, I guess.
Oh.
What do you use it for a bass when you do the 8-string thing? Just real quick.
For bass, my wife actually does the bass. She just started playing bass last year, but we just use a 5-string bass.
Okay.
I can barely get my wife to cook.
I'm going to leave it there. I'm just going to off there.
I'm just going to go out back and land on a stick.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Mick. It was fun talking to you guys and fun being on here.
Hey, are you going to be at NAMM? You coming out to NAMM? The winter NAMM?
I wish. I'll see. I'm going to try.
Okay, stay in contact with me because we would definitely love to meet you, and NAMM is like a place where we meet a lot of people. And if nothing else, stay in contact because we'll definitely help you with promoting the new stuff, and we'll make mention of it in future shows.
Oh,
there you go.
Heck yeah! Well, thank
man.
you.
No problem,
all right, Charles. Thank you very much, man. Have a great rest of the day and much continued success.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you later.
As a special offer to our audiences, warbyparker.com will give you a 5-day home try-on complete with 5 pairs of glasses to choose. Just go to warbyparkertrial.com/AAA to get a free 5-day home try-on. Warby Parker makes buying glasses online easy and risk-free. Their home try-on program allows customers to order 5 pairs of glasses to be shipped directly to them where they can try them on in the comfort of their own home. For every pair of glasses sold, Warby Parker distributes a pair of glasses to someone in need. Warby Parker makes buying glasses fun, easy, and pain-free. Warby Parker keeps their styles highly curated, fashion-forward, and extremely wearable while including high-quality lenses and coatings at no additional cost. Warby Parker makes your experience completely risk-free and free shipping all around. Visit warbyparkertrial.com/AAA to begin your free home trial on experience today.
And there you have the story.
Okay.
There you have the heavy story.
Jeff, I quit.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
it, man. This is it. I'm going to do the podcast, and that's it. Because I can't.
Too much talent out there.
I can't even fathom. Okay. I have Easy Drummer, whatever the version, 2.0, whatever, and I can use the patterns and all. And then I hear, I did it from scratch, and I'm like, I'm obviously just mentally challenged or something.
No, I feel the same way, and it's like
it's just so bizarre.
It's one thing. Like I said, the genre is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I do respect it. It's like I respect all sorts of music, even if it's not my favorite.
Sure, yeah.
So the speed and the execution and the dexterity and the energy that it takes to do this just on the guitar alone is well worth respect. And then he's diving deep into this the Line 6 pod thing to get sounds out of it that
don't sound bad, by the way.
No,
they don't.
No,
look, it fits that genre, but I swear to God, I would have said, that's a fractal. I wrote it off as a fractal. I swear to God. I was just like, fractal. That's exactly what he's doing. It's so tight. It's so precise. Everything else. No, Line 6, $500. Oh, by the way, you can get them for $200 if you search hard enough.
Yeah, $250 used,
Yeah, forget about it.
So, to go deep there to get those kind of sounds, and then, just write all the drum tracks from scratch.
Oh, my God.
All in a day's work? I don't know.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Like I said, it's a little bit of a changing of the guard. Us old school guys, we still like, 4/4 and rock guys, and we like to hear it loud and, all that good stuff. But, good on him because it is a very disciplined work ethic. It is musicianship. I mean, yes, it's not our cup of tea per se, but it is some of the best musical talent, I guess you could say, with all this precision and all this other stuff. You hear what happens. It's sort of like what Rusty said that one time. He goes, look, I didn't start playing this. I had to learn the blues. He started with Hendrix,
Right.
And then he referred playing Green Day and stuff. So it's like, it all takes that thing. It all takes, it's got to have some talent in there and a lot of dedication. And man, when you see his stuff on Instagram or YouTube,
yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. I'll put it that way.
No,
it is not for the faint of heart.
And
musically, this stuff you can appreciate. The vocal part of it is
the Cookie Monster stuff is
could turn some people off. But just musically, you got to appreciate it. If nothing else, you have to appreciate it. And just watch it, and your jaw will drop, and you go, oh.
And here's the other part that we kind of left out. And I guess just where is it coming from, right? Like what's going on in that head that gives him those ideas to execute these things, and it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound like it's some new music. It just it's kind of fits, It's
true.
Every so often, and we got more of these guys coming up, by the way. So, and we're not look. Here's the thing. This is sort of like, we talked about this. We're going to have some guys like spotlight guys, and Charles is no slacker. He's been out there doing it. But we want to definitely push some of these guys up, when we get them on the air and stuff. But we got some cool dudes coming up that have our old school kind of guys, Oh, yeah. That, look, we are covering... We don't discriminate against the music. That's for sure.
No, covering as many bases as possible.
We will not have a guy with just a computer, though. So don't ever expect that. So all you EDM guys that want to come on the show, you may as well just hang it up. It ain't gonna happen.
But then there are guys that plug their guitar straight into the computer, and that's fair game.
Hey.
Nowadays, because that's almost what Charles does. That Line 6 thing is, all those things. Yeah. They're just computers too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't make any difference if you plug into one of those or you plug into your Mac Airbook.
No,
it's all the same.
Yeah,
it's all the same.
But there is that thing that he's doing on there that I can't do.
That's right. Me too.
Well, all right, brother. So until next time, my friend.
Which we're going to bring you more craziness.
We're going 10 strings.
That's right.
I'm Mick Marcelino.
And I'm Jeff Bober.
And we're always saying,
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.